tiny mo.
Mini. It's a recording. We need to switch to English.
We switched to English.
English switched. Welcome, Eran, to the podcast.
It's great to be here in the wilderness of the Netherlands.
Yes, this is very unusual for me to do a podcast. It's very special, not unusual. We're sitting here and everything. There are more animals surrounding us than humans.
Yes. Ducks, I see. Cows. Flies. A lot of green.
A lot of green.
Yeah.
And because it's so flat, we can see a lot in Netherlands.
Lucky us, right?
Man, thank you for coming.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for the invitation.
You're an incredible guitar player.
Thank you.
And I told you before, I was not expecting that you will play what you played already. I thought it's going to be hardcore jazz because this is what usually you promote on your social medias.
Really?
I think so. Lately,
No.
This is what I saw. But man, that was so beautiful. The arrangement of the guitar was incredible.
Thank you.
It felt like Tommy Emmanuel, jazzy style. It was very incredible.
Yeah, I'll take it as a compliment. Yeah, I mean, Tommy is amazing, of course. Yeah, I think it's it's maybe a misperception of a lot of listeners nowadays that they catalog jazz with the old style in a way. And I love the old style. I grew up on the old style, but I feel like that in order to find my space in music, my voice, I have to accept all the influences that I have and had and still having over the years. So I grew up listening to MTV back in the 90s, and the first impressions of music is besides the radio and the Israeli music is Guns N' Roses and Metallica and a lot of and Michael Jackson and a lot of the stuff that was played in MTV and Nirvana and that's actually my beginnings with music, like being a grunger, a metalist, a rocker. Jazz came later and indeed changed my life. And there was a period that I was, in Hebrew we call it like a kind of a bebop Nazi. And that just simply means that you're really into bebop. And that's the only thing, like bebop is the truth. And I mean, bebop is the truth in so many ways. But I feel like that to discover my truth, I have to be open for all styles. So that's maybe what you heard.
Yeah, it was a mixture with everything. That's why it was very rich. It was felt, There were many things that got combined in a very elegant way to those pieces that you just shared.
Thank you.
And I'm curious. There are so many questions, but first maybe you can introduce yourself and your experience. You have many things that you would like to share. I know little about you. We did not talk so much before, but I got a recommendation from Amir Breslev.
The great Amir
He's an
Breslev.
incredible drummer. And when someone like him recommends me about someone else and tells me he is a beast, go talk to him. Yeah, man, that's exactly what I got.
Well, so first I'm flattered. And so my name is Eran, and I'm from Israel. I'm 40 years old. I just turned 40 last April. And I live in Holland, in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam. I live here for 17 years. I came here because in retro perspective, I wanted to rediscover myself. Back in my life in Israel, back in those times, I felt that something is missing. I felt that I want something, and I want to develop my personality in a certain way, and I felt like I don't really manage to do it. And one of the ideas was to go and study music somewhere. And actually, the first stop or the first idea was, of course, New York, especially because of the jazz relations. But after spending some time in New York, I realized that I don't have the budgets to to allow this type of studies. And I went back to Israel after a year in the States, and then after a very short period, I discovered this conservatorium here in Amsterdam, and I simply just came here and got accepted, and the whole moving started. I didn't know that I'm going to immigrate, but that's how it started. So yeah, I'm playing guitar since I'm 10. And I guess since I'm 13, 14, I know that I want to do this. And back then I didn't know what it means. What does it mean to be a musician or to work in music, to play guitar for a living, to be an artist. But I just jumped into this path without knowing much. But I felt that it's good for me. And simply because I just didn't see, when I imagine the early years, like being 10 years old or so, in the landscape of my huge family, I didn't see anyone that I thought, I want to be like you, you know. And I guess music, when I started again watching those MTV clips, I thought, wow, these guys look very different than what I know and the people I see in the everyday life, and maybe that's a thing. And that's how the romance with music actually started.
Who was it that inspired you to pick up the guitar and
Oh
do the
man.
same thing that you see him doing?
Oh, the most cheesy thing. It was Slash.
Slash.
I
Yeah,
saw,
man.
yeah, I saw November Rain video clip, and I saw, Slash standing on that cliff, and it touched me in a certain way, and I still like it. Although today I feel very far away, or at least in another zone than what Slash is and was doing. But still, that's I guess the seed.
Yeah, back then, to see someone on this cliff with this helicopter shot,
Yeah,
you wanted to be there.
absolutely.
If you did not know how to play guitar, you would learn how to play it so you can be there on this cliff.
Yeah,
It's very emotional playing there, what they did. Slash was also a big inspiration for me. I think he's one of the coolest guitarists that ever been, and he's also a very good guitarist.
yeah. I
He's a
think
riff
he's
master Slash.
Yeah, I think his melodic approach is something that I still kind of kept, because jazz
Yeah.
could sometimes be interpreted as like not so melodic, especially for people that are not so much aware or familiar with the style. But I think that I found myself to be more of a melodic player. Like my incentives are narrativic, you may say. And maybe when I'm thinking about Slash, so Slash is a feel guy, is a
Yes.
melody guy. And I
Yes.
can still sing, and play all of the solos, because I just grew up on this.
Incredible. How much energy Slash got? How many people he inspired to play guitar?
Amazing, yeah, yeah.
And how was it for you when you came to Holland?
Wow.
How was the first year? How long were you planning to study here?
I didn't plan anything, honestly.
But you came here for a certain time, I
Yes,
guess.
I came here to do my bachelor's, the first degree, you call it, like yeah, and that is a 4-year program. So I knew that I'm getting myself into a 4-year program, but I actually, really, honestly, didn't have plans. I came here blank. What I do remember is that I'm sitting in the airplane to move here. So I'm taking like a huge suitcase and I'm moving to the Netherlands. And I remember the feeling that I had in that moment. I remember what I told myself and the pep talk I gave to myself on the plane. And I think it's still relevant. I think that pep, like nothing changed. Although 17 years have passed, it's still, I'm still in the same quest.
What did you tell yourself?
I basically told myself to allow myself to be the person I wanted to become and to give all my energy into this. I thought this is my opportunity to reinvent myself as a person, as a musician, which is, for me, it's the same. Um, and it's still going on. Nothing changed. I'm a samurai in many ways. I'm an old school Japanese samurai. It's just that I'm not Japanese. I'm not so old school. I have a guitar. The guitar is my sword. I still wake up every morning and I sharp my guitar as I sharp my sword, and I try to learn more about the world through music, and I tried being a better person through music. And I'm also a father. I have 2 kids.
Cool. This I did
Um,
not knew.
yeah,
How old are they?
they're 2 princesses. One is 4.5, and the other one is 11 months. So it's very exciting, full, busy period with all the emotions are in there. But I still wake up in the morning and I want to reach to myself, and I do it with the guitar in my hands. So yeah, so that's a journey that started when I was 10, when I picked up the guitar, and later 11, 12, when I knew that this is something I want to develop. Then into Tal Mayalin, which really changed. Tal Mayalin is a school in Israel, and it's like a national school where it's an art school. It's a high school of arts, of the arts. And I had I was fortunate to go there, to study there 4 years, and these 4 years were very, very important in my life, since I discovered what jazz is, and or started to discovering, and I met a lot of very, very, very inspiring friends and people that helped me to shape my brain, and helped me to discover more about music and more about jazz specifically. And that's today I'm an active musician. I play music, I compose music, I perform music. I teach. I teach in the Conservatory of Amsterdam. I'm study faculty for 14 years. I do a lot of theoretical subjects like solfège, ear training, general theory, also coaching ensembles, and many more things. And I'm happy. I'm happy.
Crazy journey.
Yeah, it is.
It's crazy how much I think this mindset that you told yourself that you allow to receive whatever comes to you and to reinvent yourself. This is the key. This mindset. It's not easy to receive, especially good things that coming to our way. I noticed that with myself, that sometimes what stops me from succeeding is my own fear of being successful. And it's a strange fear, right? Because why would I fear it? I work so hard to get there.
Absolutely.
And it's a huge one.
Yeah, it's like this self-destruction, that I definitely know I have it in me. Like I also destruct myself. I build a lot. I'm an energizer. I'm a workaholic. But I also have this thing that I need to destroy something every once and then. And I'm aware of it, so I'm doing it very gently.
In a safe space.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What do you destroy usually? Physical, mental?
It's hard to say. I'm smoking cigarettes. That's something I should definitely do. That's a bit of a slow suicide, you may say. Especially for an aware person like me. So that's, I guess, part of it. But also, like being a yes man. I'm a sort of a yes man. I like to please others. It's actually took me a long time to learn how to please myself and how to prioritize my needs and to understand my needs, to prioritize them first. But I'm changing. I think also being a parent, becoming a parent, helped me a lot to prioritize things again and to really realize what's more important, what's less, what do I want from the future. And also complete with many things, just like, okay, this is what it is, enjoy it. It could be much worse.
Yeah.
So just enjoy where you are. And yeah, I feel good.
I think it's the balance between building and destroying.
Exactly. I know a lot of people that only like build. They're very kind of positive, but then I feel sometimes that maybe in their being, maybe in their art, if they're making art, there is something that I miss. Like there is, the sting needs to be there for me, yeah, personally speaking. So yeah, it's the whole deal, I mean, we are building, we are destroying, we are living the life.
Yeah, it's part of it. We cannot ignore it.
No,
You know,
the
you
yin
cannot,
yang of things, right?
yeah, you cannot ignore winter by taking January off your calendar. It's gonna be there.
Yes.
What is jazz for you? Because now you play jazz, and it's not sound like a typical jazz.
Yeah.
And jazz is a huge word for vast of sounds and cultural societies of certain music.
Yeah.
And sometimes jazz will not sound like a standard jazz.
Yeah.
And how would you define jazz?
So, pianist Bill Evans, very famous American pianist, had an interview in the early 60s, and he defined jazz in a way that I really agree with. And he said the following. He said, jazz is a medium of music, is not a language. And he says it's not a language anymore, but it's a medium of music. And that medium of music means making 1 minute music in 1 minute time. And basically that leads us into improvisation. And I think that although jazz started with work songs and political movements and New Orleans and New York and swing and bebop revolution and modern jazz and jazz as we know it, fusion. But actually, in a sense, I feel like that I agree with Bill. I think that jazz, what it really revived is our ability to improvise on larger scales. Because when you think about improvisation as a concept, we improvise all the time. I mean, as a matter of fact, as we speak right now, we improvise. Yeah. We have the words. Imagine that the words are like notes. Imagine that a sentence could be like a scale or a phrase. Imagine that the topic could be the form of the song. So we know all these. We know words. But as we speak, we construct them into sentences, and the sentences are formed due to our realization about the topic of the conversation. And we are reacting to each other in real time. This is jazz. Reacting in real time to reality, to what's happening. And that's, I think, what defines jazz from a lot of different types of music. And that's why I like jazz the most, because as we do now, we talk. And I love talking because I love learning. I love listening. And as a jazz musician, I feel like that one of the most important things that you want to develop is your ability to listen, digest this information, and react. And what I just played was songs that I know, but I didn't know exactly what I'm gonna play. I didn't know where it's gonna lead me. I was trying to be open for the moment and to therefore play jazz.
It's a very beautiful way to describe jazz. I found that interesting since I'm not a jazz man so much. I really enjoy listening to jazz, but there are some jazz standards, right?
Absolutely.
And I think sometimes if I go to a jam session, which is a jazz jam session,
Yeah.
if I don't know those standards, I don't belong there. And then it feels it's very strict. There is those standards you need to play in order to fit in.
Right? But imagine that it's in every society you have that. For
Yeah.
example, if you'll go to Bordeaux and you'll go to a wine club and you don't know nothing about wines and they come and serve you and you don't know this grape and that grape, they'll say, that's not a guy to talk with or whatever. Like you will not be accepted, you know.
Yes.
In religion, everyone knows the prayers, you know, in any religion to its own, right? Everyone knows the ceremonies. So jazz is exactly the same, that it has a society and it has scriptures. And the scriptures are those standards.
Yes.
And that's our starting point, you may say. You know, so you learn those songs in order to be able, you learn those topics, songs, topics, in order to talk with people that also knows those topics. And that's what's happening. In blues music, the list of songs is maybe shorter because it's the blues. When you
Yeah.
know a few types of blues forms and harmonic structures, you can go to a blues session and you can start talking, playing with the people there. But if you didn't know the blues form
Yeah.
and there's some sequences, like some nuances, important nuances, you will not be accepted there. So in a sense, it happens all over the place. And jazz is not special then. You know, it's just you need to know your shit before you go on stage.
Yes, you need to know the culture before you improvise there.
Yeah, before you'll be accepted. You can improvise anyhow, you know. Maybe you'll get some, someone will eyeball you or whatever, you know. But then again, you know, it's a starting point.
Are there stuff that is forbidden, let's say, with quotes, to improvise in a jam where you have jazz musicians around you?
Yeah, so you have different types of jams. You know, you have like more traditional jam sessions where indeed people will call like let's say the more niche repertoire in jazz, like the you know, in some circuits you call it the obscure songs, you know, the less familiar ones, and they'll be very sensitive about the harmonies of the songs and how you play it. Because, you know, jazz is something that really evolved. I mean, when you think about those standards that you talked about earlier, those standards were actually not jazz songs to begin with. So when you think about the history of music, so in United States in the 40s, you have this industry which is called Broadway. And Broadway is like the place to take your date to, you know. And those musicals played in Broadway, of course, had songs. And those songs became very, very famous. They were popular songs. So, for example, if you take All the Things You Are, or How High is the Moon, or whatever, those songs are not coming from jazz players. They're coming from Broadway musicals. And the composers of those songs are not jazz musicians. They are most of the time ex-Russian Jews who flee from Russia. They were classically trained. They wanted to find a commercial job. and they or a job, and they found themselves into the industry, the huge industry of Broadway in New York in the 40s, 50s, 60s.
This is crazy. I did not knew that.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the jazz musicians of those times, which the swing musicians, you may call it even, they needed to entertain the people that went to the bars, and what those people wanted to hear, the audience, they wanted to hear the most famous songs that were in the radio and, the most popular songs, which were those jazz standards. And those jazz musicians, they learned how to, or they experimented, they developed a new skill, which it wasn't new because it's not like that jazz musicians invented the concept of improvisation, but they developed it. So they took those songs and they started messing up with them. And that's in a very small sense of the, like how jazz or how a part of jazz was created, born.
It's crazy. It feels for me when people really, like jazz players, take those standards, they open them up.
Yeah.
What kind of harmonic possibilities exist in this song? And it feels like jazz feels me very psychedelic if people really know what they're doing, because it opens up in those very beautiful and harmonic ways.
Yeah.
So it feels very satisfying when something is happening.
Yeah.
I really love this about jazz. And basically jazz was a scene by its own, and all they did was to take those songs which were famous and give them their own twist of improvisation.
Yeah, so you cannot say that it was a scene by its own in a way, because it's all evolution of stuff, evolution of a musical style. So you say jazz started from the African slaves, which weren't yet African Americans, and those slaves comes with a certain culture, a very vague culture. Imagine those slaves, those people, who became slaves. They got ripped from everything they knew. If you happen to remember the language you spoke in your village, in the tribe, you're lucky, but you'll forget it in 20 years. You don't know anyone, you don't know where you came from, but you have a sense of kind of a pre-birth memory of the culture, the tribal culture. And this leads into work songs. And work songs is the first expression of, in music, of the African-American tribe life that they brought with them to the States. And those songs that they developed while working in the plantations basically developed what we know today as blues. So the scales, the blue note, the call and response, the call, response, and conclusion, those concepts of music were developed in that moment, in those years of slavery in plantations and other fields. Later in New Orleans, you have already something else is starting to happen, and that's Dixieland and ragtime, and in a way, jazz is just an evolution of all that. So you can say that blues also came from there, and country also has something to do with that. So it's a whole evolving process, I may say. I think so.
Yeah, I feel that culture is a living being. And
living organism,
yeah, living organism, exactly. What is culture? It's not something we can put our hands on or to grab it, but it's there all around us.
Yeah.
It's the unspoken thing that we need to understand with our emotional body and I don't know, to feel with our senses.
Yeah, Yuval Noah Harari talks a lot about it. I'm listening a lot to his lectures. Read everything, and he describes culture as that story that we all believe in, So when we believe in a certain story, that creates this culture, this way of life.
Yeah.
Because culture is like the way we live our lives, the way we view the world, that's I guess some pillars of that word culture. Like what is?
Yeah, we make believe into something that a lot of people are making believe as well. And therefore we can trust each other because we believe in the same thing. But if we take it outside of the human mind, it doesn't exist at all.
No, absolutely. Yeah, it's, cannot be found in our atoms or in the universe in that sense. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so
Uh,
interesting. I'm thinking a lot about money. Since Corona, I got really into financial, whatever is going on. Like since 2017, I got first introduced to Bitcoin. And Bitcoin is one of those instruments that basically came here to solve a lot of problems with our financial system. I also remember even prior to that, I was thinking, this is crazy. Back then, when I was a kid, to be a millionaire was something you cannot really achieve. And those who achieved to be a millionaire were crazy people. But then when I became like 25, 30, all of a sudden to be a millionaire, it's not that difficult, right? Now you need to be a billionaire. You need to
yeah.
be in the same status of a millionaire 20, 30 years ago.
Right.
So what happened to the money? The money is not worth so much, right? All of a sudden, it's easier for people to become millionaires. And then I started to go like, what is going on here? And then Bitcoin came, and then I started to really go down the rabbit hole of what is really money, what is a currency. Basically, we put our trust in a paper that is very difficult to fake. Not impossible, but it's very, very difficult. You need a lot of money and a lot of resources to do so. And this paper money basically represents trust in a certain organization and their value.
Exchange.
Kind of.
Yeah.
It used to be backed by gold in the 70s, right?
Right.
And then they stopped, the USA, they stopped backing their money by gold. And then, all right, if it's not backed by something that had value.
Yeah, it just grew more than the private banks of gold that every empire had. So
Yeah.
it exceeded it. Yeah.
It exceeded because it got decoupled from the gold. You know, if you need for every dollar, I don't know, like the amount of gold to be there, then you cannot really print money from thin air. You need to prove that you have something to back this up. And all of a sudden, when you just separate those two, then you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
And then, what is really money? You know, what is debt? What is like all those stuff that we talk about?
Yeah, I mean, in 7, 8, 10 years ago, I don't remember. You know, the first movie of the Zeitgeist movie, the Zeitgeist movement came out. I'm sure you saw it, like many of us did, and that was a good description. Like I didn't know a lot of the facts about money and how money is, being tunneled, in the pipes, So that was a good mind opener. But I must add that I have a total different relation. Like I have a very, I have almost, I don't have much relationship with money, and for me, money was never an incentive. I never count my money. I never think twice if to invest my money in something. If I want, I do. If I don't, I'm not. I am a workaholic, so I work and I see that in the end of the month or in the end of the year, I manage to live and to buy what I want to buy. I'm not a big shopper. I manage to go on holiday or whatever I want, or to produce an album. Because I don't have relationship with money in that sense, I have relationship with work. And I try to give the best work, to do the best work I can, and therefore money comes in. And I love it. Because I don't care about it,
Yeah.
And somehow
You figure the balance.
I didn't figure anything. This is who I am. I just don't give a damn about it. Because I see a lot of people with a lot of money that are completely miserable. And I see it. And I totally get the math. The more money you have, the more trouble. Like there is a lot about it. And also you said, something about billionaires, millionaires. What I read somewhere is that most of the millionaires, billionaires, trillionaires, multi-milliardaires, whatever, that living on this planet are not born, are born as multi-millionaires or whatever. That means that someone in their family, could be many generations ago, did something that could be legal or illegal, that could be smart or completely stupid, that could be moral or completely immoral. He did something. Someone did something, and the money came into the family. And when you have money, you can make more money. So I guess it's like a 99%, as far as I remember. 99% of all the people with money on this planet didn't do shit for it. They
You
just
think so?
got it. No, I'm not thinking so.
You know it.
I read it. Yeah, this is a fact. And you can check me out on this. I'm not sure if it's 99% or 98, but I know that it's very, very big percent. So
Might be.
check it out. So
There are many things that I am not aware of. Yeah.
yeah. So when I meet someone that became a millionaire and did it in a moral way, I'll be curious to hear more. But these people are very rare. So when you meet one, have a talk with them if you get a chance. But
I'm curious.
most of those guys got rich because they were born rich.
There is the thing, hard times make hard men.
Sure.
Hard men make good time. Good time make a weak man. Weak men make hard time. And that's the loop.
I agree.
I don't think 3 generations of wealthy people without the right mindset will be sustainable. Because money, if you have $1 million today, it doesn't mean you will have them in 10 years. Money, it's productivity. Money, it's a way that you organize information, and then money comes. I don't talk about currency. Money is not currency. Currency is something else. Money can be anything. In South Africa, I think they use what it's called seashells as money, or
Sure.
sometimes even glass. They use glass. That's the right thing. They use glass as money, and then the Brits came there. And the Brits said, "Oh, we know how to make glass in England.
problem.
Let's
Yeah.
make an inflation and buy the whole land."
Yeah.
So this is currency. But what is money? All of a sudden, all the
Buy
British people,
or just enslave.
all of a sudden, the British, they had all the productivity, energy of this nation.
Yeah. That's whoever didn't make the industrial revolution,
Yeah.
just basically lost the race. And we know exactly who lost the race and who won it. We know exactly who were the oppressors and who were the conquerors, and
Exactly.
and who were the workers and the slaves and the modern slaves and
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
So-
it's really the ugly side of it.
Absolutely. So money leads to corruption.
But we also must have it in our life, right? You cannot really work for free. Then how can you feed yourself? Unless you will barter for food.
Absolutely. Although, I feel like that there is another thing that we eat, we consume, and that's maybe something in the modern world, and it's achievements. So we need achievements in our lives, and I think that maybe we should get it into our culinary thinking, that this is also something we need. So money is one thing. Of course, you need to survive, but today it's much easy in a way to survive. I mean, if you can work a little bit and you live, for example, living in Europe, I think it's much easier than living in Israel. When I see my fellow friends in Israel doing more or less what I do here, like, playing music, teaching, dreaming music, whatever, performing it, I think that their agendas are much fuller, and I think that they have much harder time. And I might be wrong, but I think so. So coming here and realizing like, wow, I could be a musician here, and I don't really need to think about money all the time. That was a relief, So I think it might be easier nowadays to make money, because
As a musician.
yeah, but also in general, just like to make a living, maybe to make a living. So not to make money, but to make a living. So to live, to rent some place, to work some. So maybe you don't need to live in Tel Aviv or in Amsterdam or whatever, or in New York, but you can find a house anywhere. You can find a cheap renter. You don't need to live in Berlin, where the rent is moving up as we speak. You
But
know.
then who you perform to if you're not in the big cities?
So yeah, so you will find your way, right? I mean, of course, that art wants to be, or art grows in a social place, or at least that's what we can see most of the time. But an artist can come from anywhere, like Chef Gusteau says in the movie Ratatouille. Ratatouille, everyone can be a cook. Remember that? So that's more or less what I mean. So, I don't know if I'm talking bullshit right now or I'm really have facts to back it off, but that's what I feel. I feel like that I can have a part-time job here in this country, yeah, and I can make a living to support my survival needs. Maybe not more than that. Of course, that's not exactly what I do because once again, I'm a workaholic. I feel like also driven by ideology, and sense of like I want to live a rich life. I always want to get to the next level.
What do you mean to get to the next level?
Yeah, in my artistry, which means in my relationship to myself, with myself.
To have breakthroughs?
Yeah, to develop, to evolve, to keep the fire.
So interesting to hear your perspective. I talk with many musicians, most of them in Berlin. You're the first one that I talk on this podcast that is outside of Germany. And most of them very much struggling to make money from music. What do you think is the difference between the experience that you have and the experience of other musicians who are struggling to make their living through their art?
So first of all, you must be lucky. I don't think that you could be the most talented guy, and if you don't have luck, if something happens, I mean, life, it has its own wheel, it has its own desires or whatever you want to call it. There is chaos, and we just, make our way around it or with it, in it. But maybe because I don't think about money, and I think about work, and I think about things I want to do, I now find myself in a situation in the middle of my life, more or less, where I'm doing what I dreamed doing and still dreaming on doing. And I develop new dreams in this realm of dream. And I just like doing. I like doing, and I work on my craft. I try to be the best version of myself when I'm doing a job. So I am on time. I'm prepared. I'm also prepared for the unknown because I'm into jazz. And I'm positive because life is too short to be negative. I mean, let's just we should enjoy this very tiny, small, miniature ride we got on this planet. So I'm just trying to enjoy, and I have a lot of, I could be depressed for a day or whatever. I'm just like everyone else, We're all from the same, made from the same cookie dough, But maybe because I'm not thinking about it too much. Maybe I'm not like trying to make the hit that will get me there, I'm just trying to live the rock star life, That's all. And I'm happy doing what I'm doing. Really.
I think the doing is what separates you from those who don't get the amount of success they wish to have.
Yeah.
I think that's a big one.
Yeah.
To show up on time.
Yeah.
To come prepared. People underestimate the power of being prepared to something. if you're making a call with someone and you're preparing a little bit about them, you can know a lot, and you're perceived as someone who did a little bit of effort, and just to do this little effort sometimes can turn the table completely to the other side in a positive way, of course.
You know, another thing I'll add, I agree with you, is planting seeds. So, because as I said before, I'm a sort of a yes man. I'm transitioning out of it in a way, but because there is some negativity in being a yes man. But with planting seeds and being a yes man in my earlier years, I feel like that I managed to give chance to a few things, or to create a chance that later came back to me as a boomerang, and it translated to work. So I did, let's call it favors, you know, in my early years. And, you know, even just like a month ago when you sent me a message, we weren't aware of each other. I'm getting your message and I see what you're all about. I'm checking you out and I'm saying, yeah, of course I want to be part of it. I'm not asking you, is this paid? How long does it going to take? Oh, I need to come with a car. Can you pay my... Is there a park? Like, you know, I'm just thinking, okay, here's a nice person who is doing a nice thing, who asks me to join his nice thing. Yeah, do it. Because, and don't think about like, oh, wow, maybe I'll get a gig out of it. Maybe something will hear. Maybe someone will call me for a lesson. No. What will happen, will happen.
Yeah.
But first, you just do. You plant the
Plant the
seeds.
seeds.
You know, I have now opportunity to share about myself and to hear and to talk with you and to talk to others. Others are listening as well. And that's already a great day, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I tell you, since I started this podcast, my life just became better. It became better in many ways. Either the social connections that I able to make, also the professional connections. I played with people that I did not think I would play with. And cheers for that,
Cheers.
man.
Yeah, a
Cheers
little
for
bit
the
of
seeds.
water.
You want to come to the shade a bit?
Yeah.
Or are you good like that?
I get tan really fast, you know, because I'm getting pale here in Europe. But now with global warming, one day of sun and I'm becoming the same kind of light brown I'm used to be.
We are in September right now, the time for recording this podcast, the middle of September to say, almost the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fucking hot.
Yeah,
It's
I love
fucking
it.
hot in Netherlands.
I love it.
I love it as well. I don't know if it's normal. I don't complain right now. It looks green around me.
It's not normal. I can tell you, in the 17 years I live here, you know, when I came here, it was August 2006. And I remember I landed here in the beginning of August and I was like, what? This is summer? It was like a cloudy day, showers on and off, 12 degrees. And I was like, wow. And then the winter came and the snow was like piling up. And I was like, you know, I'm Israeli. I don't know anything about snow.
Where are you coming from in Israel?
Born in Rishon LeZion, lived most of my life in Rosh Hashanah.
Rosh Hashanah.
Yeah,
Wow, nice.
and a little bit in Givatayim next to Tel Aviv in the high school years.
It's very beachy vibe, I would say.
Yeah.
Different from snowing.
Yeah, but gradually I saw the weather here changing in my own eyes, you know, with my own eyes. It's amazing how, you know, summer used to be the best day in the year, you know, or the best moment in the year. Like you could have missed summer because it wasn't on your break, you know?
Yes.
Like summer was like 5 hours, you know, that's how summer is maybe in Iceland or, you know, Scandinavia or something. But here it was a little bit the same. You had like 2 weeks of 25 degrees and that's it. And a little bit of rain in those 2 weeks, yeah? But nowadays you have bigger summers and warmer and I love it.
And also less winters.
Yeah, and the winters became less hardcore. No snow. We didn't have snow here for some years, several years. And you hear it all over Europe, like, you know, till they open the ski sites, you know, and stuff. It's really it's much longer than 1st January or even somewhere in December.
Last summer I was in Portugal and it was insane. Smala. It was so dry there in Portugal. You okay?
Absolutely.
Let it out.
Yeah.
It's the water trying to kill us. Who says that water is healthy? They need to be on this podcast now. Well, it was so dry there in Portugal. It was, if someone like a authority or even a good citizen would saw you throwing a cigarette butt, you might get a huge fine.
Absolutely.
And there was a crazy fire there last year. It got my friend's property completely burned, except the pirate flag. The fire knows. But that was insane. And I think also this year it happened a lot.
Yeah.
In Greece, there were crazy fires.
All over, yeah. And last year in Israel, or 2 years ago, you know, in the Gilboa, or what was it? Carmel, sorry.
The Carmel, yes.
Yeah, huge fires. No, it's a big one. It's a big one. I mean, the weather is changing. Sure.
Is it because of us humans, or is it because this is the natural way of Earth to be?
That's the big question, you know. I mean, some say that there are a lot of evidence that shows that we cause the pollution, or that we causing pollution that infects this. And to be honest, it's not so hard to imagine this. I mean, when you just look at the map of Earth and you just see the amount of roads we build and cities and stuff, you can just imagine that influenced. Or you're just standing in a traffic jam and you see like all the cars, and so that's one side. And of course there are other scientists and opinions that says no, the Earth is actually weather is changing on this planet, and we are just in a change, so we have nothing to do with it. I think I'm a little bit more towards we have something to do with that. I don't know if a little or a lot, but we do have some part in it. That's my feeling.
Yeah, we're fucking the planet completely.
That's
You know,
could be.
I think this is the case, and we have so many tools.
We do in many areas. We do we pollute the oceans, we kill all the animals, we destroy the nature. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And the animals that are living still in the wild are being poisoned.
Absolutely.
Like fish is not so healthy anymore.
No.
Especially the big ones. You know, even if it's wild caught salmon or wild caught tuna fish.
Yeah.
They might be harmful.
Absolutely.
It's really crazy. It's really, really insane.
Yeah.
And there are many technologies today that are maybe in their baby phase. And I think they're about to solve those stuff, you know. I'm a big fan of Bitcoin because I know this technology can change the world. And the way it's being developed, all this blockchain technology and all the other companies that are putting their energy and their creativity into that, it feels like the level that we're going to achieve is very cheap energy. So it will not cost us so much energy to secure ourselves, to secure our productive energy, to secure our cities, to secure our family, and also to use energy. It will be digitalized, you know. The same that happened with music. If you wanted to record an album 70 years ago, you would have to go to a very specific studio. Probably it was a fortune of money to build the studio. You need someone who will know how to operate those systems. You will need a sound engineer. You will need a mix engineering. You will need someone who is the producer of all this orchestra to make sure that it's working, right?
Yeah, you need a label. You need a big house, big production house.
Yeah, so they can give you the money to actually make it happen.
No, they can just take your songs and sell them for millions and give you peanuts. That's basically what happened.
That's basically what happened, yeah. But they had the energy to run this music industry. And nowadays, look at us. We're sitting here with a Zoom that, I don't know, was 300 euros.
Yeah.
With a recording quality that people would dream about 60 years ago.
Absolutely.
And also the way music is being not used, consumed.
Yeah.
It's also become really, really cheap, if not free.
It seems like that the music came back to the artist in a way, or like nowadays you don't need a big label in order to record something and release something. So anyone hypothetically can listen to something that you did when you are just an unknown guy from, you're in, I don't know, from the North Pole. Yeah. Um, but also there is something destructive about this. I mean, when I think about Spotify and the other streaming services, I don't dig it. I don't dig it, and I'll tell you also why. I'm doing a lot of teaching. I'm basically seeing 100 students per week. Yeah, and
100 students per week?
yes,
No way.
yeah,
What the fuck, man?
and
That's
I
a lot.
yeah, that's a lot. Yeah, but I do it. I
Wow.
I manage to take it.
We will talk about it
Yeah,
later.
we'll talk about it. And what I notice is that many of those students are not aware to what they are actually listening to. They don't know the albums most of the time. They don't know the name of the track they liked. They don't know who is in the band, what's the name of the drummer or whatever. Um, Basically, there is kind of a whole void of information, which I think that basically erases the identity of the artist. So all this unconscious listening that is happening right now because of those playlists is something that erases the identity of the artist. Because it doesn't matter what you're listening, who are you listening to? It's more like what kind of a genre of a playlist you're listening to.
Yeah.
Is this a lo-fi hip hop? Is this like, some shopping mall bullshit? Is this whatever? Are you just feel good, whatever?
Yeah, it's even more abstract. You can listen to white noise.
Exactly.
And there is
yeah.
someone who's making millions.
And millions. Yeah, exactly. That you. Yeah.
Unknown artist.
Yes. So when I see it translated into the students, and who are those students? I mean, that's the future of music. They're now students. In 10 years, they're like the most important thing in the industry. I think that's a pity. But again, I'm aware that we need to evolve. I'm aware that we need to find new ways, and we cannot live the past. I'm not mad that I'm not selling albums, or whatever. But there is something about not being able to have everything at the moment you want it. So like actually, I remember the days where I had, let's say, 100 euros, 100 shekels, yeah. And I went,
25 euros
yeah,
approximately.
exactly. And I went to a CD store, and I was like 17, 16, whatever, or early. And I could buy with this money 2 albums. And I would spend easily 3 hours in that store, listening to so many things, talking with the employee there to recommend me what kind of that. Oh, you have to listen to this. Okay, I'm listening to half of this album. Like I was really, and then I chose 2 albums I liked, and I went home. Man, and those albums were in rotation for like 5 years. Like I know these albums. I have so much experience with these albums. They
Which
ask.
albums?
I mean,
Which are they?
so many. I bought, between 400 and 600 albums.
Oh wow! So it was
In those years, yeah,
it was a regular thing.
yeah. Every week I'll go and I'll spend like, or every 2 weeks, 1 month I'll buy 2 albums, 3 albums, maybe in a month or something. And I feel today, you just click something and you hear it and then you like it or you dislike it. Now, sometimes when I bought an album and I came home and I listened to it, and then I was not so connecting to it at first. But because I bought it, I gave it another chance after a week, and then maybe another chance after 2 weeks, and then after and then I discovered a song I liked, and then I came back to it, and then suddenly I learned the album a bit, and somehow I got open to the sound, to whatever, and I suddenly liked it. So something changed. And I feel like that today we just don't give, like there is less opportunity
Yeah.
for something like this. Now, again, these are very old school thoughts, and I'm definitely with my eyes to the future. But I'm just thinking that when we're talking about streamings right now, that's just something that at least for myself and also in my teachings, I'm trying to be very aware of it, and I like loop things. I like to listen to something 1,000 times because that's how I learn from it the most.
Yeah, that's where the depth is coming from, to do the same thing again and again and again and again and again.
Yeah.
It was Bruce Lee, I think, who said that I'm not afraid of someone who practiced all the martial arts, but I'm afraid of someone who practiced one box for a million times.
Exactly.
That's the power. And I think this is also what many people do not understand. There is this guy, Alex Hormozy. I don't know if you heard his name.
No.
He is such a brilliant guy. I don't know where to describe him, but he's basically breaking rules of business and how to teach businesses. Maybe you can come more to the shade. I think the sun is chasing us.
Yeah.
In September. And he got this beautiful YouTube video. Basically, it's a lecture that he gave to some people, and he brought up this concept of uninformed optimism. So basically, it's like that. You talk with your friend, and then your friend tells you, "Whoa, man, I do this thing. You must look at it. I make so much money out of it." And then you think, "Oh, all right. He makes more money than I make in my work. So maybe I will go and do that." So this is uninformed optimism. And then you do that, and then you realize, oh, there are some stuff here that are shit.
Of course.
and then you have uninformed.
Clickbait.
It's a clickbait, yeah.
Clickbait.
But it doesn't have to be a clickbait, It can be like you. I don't know how much money you make, but let's say you make 5,000 euros a month. Let's say 10,000,
No, man, I make much more than that because I'm happy. That's the thing. I'm doing what I like.
All right, so you play with the best musicians. You have the richest life with experiences. This is uninformed optimism. No one knows really what you put into to receive all those experiences, to achieve this level. No one knows the hours that you spent in bedroom just grinding.
Zillion hours. I stopped counting.
All those gigs that you went in crazy hours, taking your gear like a fucking dog, man, for getting paid, I don't know, 10 euros. We all know that.
Absolutely.
But then when someone comes to this industry, fresh new, with this uninformed optimism, then they see all the challenges. And usually all those challenges are a turn-off. And then they start a little bit, they see it's difficult, they see it's shit, and then, all right, something else. And then they have uninformed optimism from the other person. And then they jump into many different things without actually putting these hours and grind into one thing.
Yeah, but you just started it with like I heard the word money, so like someone saw a video of another person telling something about how to make more money, not how to choose something you're really good at. I'll tell you what I believe in. I believe in this. I believe that as part of education, we need to teach the youngsters the following. We need to teach them to look into themselves and to find that one thing that comes to them naturally. And that means, it doesn't mean that there is no counter force, but it means that there is a certain flow that one can, observe of a certain thing. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be talking. Oh, I'm very good in talking. It could be planning. It could be playing guitar. It could be writing songs. It could be writing software. It could be whatever. It could be, I like to take care of people. I don't know. Something that you're not just you like it, but you have even a certain flow with that. Something from birth. Yeah,
Passion.
Not sure, even passion, right? But even the passion can come later.
Excitement, maybe, or
no, but actually something that you have flow with. So,
how
for
would you
example,
describe it?
for example, in my early years, I worked in an amusement park back in Israel, and I discovered. I started as an employee, like operating some like roller coaster or whatever, and very fast they actually saw that I'm good with talking with other people, and also I'm good with giving instructions, like being like the aleph aleph the
Responsible
the
person,
responsible yeah,
the guy to blame.
exactly. And I was promoted to be like the guy that gives the morning introductions and that brief the people, the other employees. So I could talk, yeah, I could talk with authority, but also not like scare nobody or be like, hey, I'm better than you or something like this. So there is this, and people will do what I was telling them, yeah. So that's something that came natural for me. And later it came back in my life when I became a teacher, because partly what I'm doing now is that I'm lecturing to groups. Those 100 students I have per week is not that I see them individually. Yeah, I have groups of people, also individuals, but some groups. And I think that it's not the musical talent I was born with or developed, that made me let's say, or some say that I'm a natural teacher. I cannot really say it for myself, but that's something that, yeah. So if I go back to my point, if we try to stimulate that thought with just people, or younger people, to try to find this thing that they have a flow with, now that they are kind of good starting point, yeah. Now take something that you're good at and make it excellent. That's where success can come. So investing in little things like this, and try to na. Okay, more luck than brains, we say. But finding that like little thing that you really vibe with, that it's in your DNA already, and then channel it into whatever you want to do and make it fucking amazing. Take something good and make it fucking amazing. So work the 10,000 hours on that, or
Yeah,
whatever. Yeah,
absolutely.
on that. I think that's might be a way.
I completely agree with you. But how do you what do you tell to yourself, more to say, when you reach those moments when everything is completely shit, you're in a hell, and it doesn't matter who you are. I think everyone got those moments, and those moments telling you to quit whatever you're doing. What do you tell yourself in those moments?
I mean, everyone knows this by now, but it's like when you are successful in something, it means that you failed zillion times. So actually, those moments that you might be talking about, that telling you like, man, just stop playing. There are many more, like much better talented people than you. So just stop it. You have no chance. So I had and still have many moments in my life where I have this, where I have a frustration with something that I do, a disappointment, a failure. Yes, but I learned to accept my failures. And I fail. Oh boy, I do. But I enjoy it. It's all part of growing. If you know how to learn, you will grow. Because if you don't know how to learn, how will you grow? If you don't know how to listen, if you don't know how to accept an opinion which is not the one you believe in,
Yeah.
how could you grow? You need to be more luck than brains, if you actually succeed to do something. So that so being okay with failure and with those thoughts and with the journey, that it's all about the journey and not about anything else. There is no end point.
No.
I mean, the end point is when you stop dreaming. So when you stop dreaming, I think dreaming is very important. Like that, we keep on enlarging the dream, or reimagining the dream. So, because I could stop doing what I'm doing already 15 years ago when I understood that I'm already a musician, performing, making things. That's it. That's actually was the dream when I was 14, 16, to be that jazz man, you know. So I could already stop 15 years ago. But I naturally developed the dream and made another episode and another season of the same dream, you know. So I'm
I like this. How do you look at those stuff?
yeah,
Another season.
another season.
Do you
Yeah.
have like a yearly theme? How do you organize it?
I mean, at this moment, I'm into what I just did with you. So I'm like, I'm into being able to invent this ability for me to play solo guitar. So that means that every time I take the guitar off the case, I could make music by myself, with myself, to others or to no one. And another important thing is that I want to not compose and, you know, exactly hand you the music that I practiced when I'm doing this. So I want to find a relationship with music, guitar, audience, songs, live, which allows me to make music which I enjoy and to get into it in the moment. And it doesn't matter what I'm going to play. So it's a big journey. I don't know if I make it in this lifetime, but I'm enjoying the journey. I'm accepting the failures and the good moments, and also the failures are good moments. It's fine.
Failures are amazing.
Yeah,
There is no way to success but failures.
absolutely. So
Pain is
let's
a bliss.
yeah, let's keep on at least doing what we believe in. You know, that's the only thing you can do. Do what you believe in. If you believe in it, also if it's shit, do it. Do it. You might learn from it. Maybe you do another few terrible projects or attempts, and you might get somewhere at the end of the day.
Yeah, definitely. I see all those challenges like the boss in Super Mario. You must defeat the boss. Every time you will not defeat it, you will go back to the same episode and you will do the same thing and you will face the exact same boss and you will not go through this boss unless you beat him.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
it's beautiful for me.
And the boss is maybe a metaphoric, like a metaphor for your inner fears, you know,
Yeah.
because it's only, they don't say it for nothing. I mean, we are the most obscure obstacle for ourselves. So if there is someone that sabotages our path to success or whatever, it's us and us alone. And of course, that there are some terrible circumstances, but I think in the majority, and at least the topics that we are talking about right now, it's us who leads ourselves to disbelief and demotivation and this and that.
Yeah,
Maybe.
I love to see our minds as a garden as well. And the thoughts that is the seed of this garden.
You need to water your plants, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if there is a dying plant there, you know, you need to go and change it.
Yeah.
Bring another one. If you
And
have a piece of land, that's what you have. You have a piece of land, things can grow there. That's the
exactly.
brain.
And things growing there. If you prepare it or not, things will grow there. You know, if you don't take care of it, you will have all the weeds coming up and will take over the garden. So it must be maintained mentally. This is our biggest instrument, the mental. Without that, I think we will not be able to do anything.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what separates all of us from each other. You know, the mental. This is what makes someone have good life, and this is what can make someone have miserable life. And those is the exact same life. It's just the way we relate to that, and the way we perceive what is good and what is bad relation to what we experienced before. And this is the most difficult part, I think, in being a human, to have all those conditionings that is happening inside of us. And one little thing can trigger this crazy emotional reaction, and we just go out of balance. And then It's the journey of coming back into our own center to see what happened and how we can improve from there.
That's why people do meditation and vipassana retreats and go into Buddhism or any other forms of religion.
Did you try vipassana?
No, unfortunately not. But I'm very I think I'm a fan without trying.
Did you try something similar by yourself?
Yes. I mean, I'm into meditation and I also meditate in a certain way when I play.
Yeah.
So that's my that's a big part of my meditation. I also do meditation without the guitar, but listening to music, it's also a form of meditation for me. Basically, just focusing on something without letting your thoughts run, and be here in the moment. That's why I love jazz so much, because there are so many nuances happening all the time, and if you're managing to catch them and you see how something influenced another person, like something that was played was influenced another person to react to it, that's those moments in time where you can, like, that happened now and it might never happen again in the same way.
Yeah.
So it's very different than going home, produce like an amazing track for a year and, mix it 7 months, master it another 3, and then go and perform it exactly as you played it on the album. And that's the present you're going to give to your audience, which already heard the track, in the radio or on streamings or whatever. So the moment again.
The
moment. That's the only thing we have, right?
Yeah.
Now, here and now. That's it.
And we have everything that we need in this moment.
Lucky us.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter where we are. We have everything that we need in this moment.
Yeah.
Most
of the time, unless you're hungry or you're sick or you're alone and nobody can reach you or whatever. You're like, we're talking about, of course, the majority of the Western world.
Also, if you're lonely, you have a lot of benefits in this moment. You have everything that you need. This loneliness, probably you made your life to come to this point because you need to be, there is some lesson for us.
Absolutely.
For me, I was depressed, I think, from age of 13 until of age of 24, 5-ish. Like, I had some depressions, it came and went, but I was completely out of it. I was very out of my body. I was not really aware of what I'm doing. And I had to go through this phase. I had to go this low. I had to go to those dark places and to be there, to make a home in this dark place, to be there for years. And just to suffer, it was just happening. I could not really control it, but because I was there, or maybe thanks for this time I spent there, I have many tools today that are very much supporting me in a lot of crazy decisions that I decide to do.
That's so true. What you eat is who you are, right? I mean, and that means also the experiences that we have and how we deal with things. So your story is reminding me a bit like the feeling that I felt when I just came here. I was 23 years old and I joined the first years. And in the first years, students in Europe, they don't have to go to any army service or something. And most of the students are finishing high school, 18, and then starting university, 18, like in the States or other places where there is no necessity for an army service, or obligatory army service. And when I came here, like 23, and I see my peers, like the class, and I see like guys that are sometimes in my age, they could be like 22 or 23. And I feel like, wow, man, I feel like I'm actually 40, like back then, like next to these guys, because they had like less maybe that they went through, maybe since this growing up in Israel, like what we, or it's very personal, I cannot generalize the whole country right now, but I'm just saying, like, at least in my childhood, I had to go through a lot of things that I felt like when I came to a larger pool or to a different pool, suddenly I realized all the tools that I got from going through those difficulties. And maybe that relates to.
Yeah. And by that I mean that we have everything that we need, even if it feels like shit. There's so much potential. I think there's more potential in the suffering moments where it feels uncomfortable than those moments where it is comfortable and everything just comes to us without making any effort.
Then you don't appreciate it. That's the thing,
Yeah.
Like, that's also something that I kind of notice, that I'm very happy with what I'm doing here, because in my perspective, like relating to where I came from, like, wow, this is amazing, like, oh, this fee is great, or this experience is amazing. And sometimes I see people that were born into, let's say, a rich scene, so they appreciate less a good school, or they appreciate less the conditions, like the living condition in, let's say, in this country is slightly better, I would say, than
Yeah.
back in Israel, at least if I may, I don't know, maybe for
Definitely.
everyone is different, but I feel like at least as conditions, we can talk about the other things that I like less or whatever, and I appreciate it. I appreciate it every day, And maybe someone that was born in like this good situation and appreciate it less, maybe.
Maybe, yeah. It's interesting. What we have is always relational to the surrounding.
Exactly.
Yeah, and this is the beauty of it. I think this is also why I love Berlin so much, since there are so many people coming there, and you can see so many different cultures, different mindsets,
Yes.
different things.
Yeah. My first album as a leader, as a band leader, I named it World Citizen, and I released it in 2020. And I really felt that this album is kind of a result of a process that I was going through, where I basically had to invent a new personality, because, as you already live abroad for years, and basically disconnecting from where we grew up in and from our culture and plunging ourselves into another culture. To me, at least, it opened like a whole standpoint, like view on things. And I feel like that it's hard to reinvent yourself, to reinvent your personality, because it's like I cannot be the same Eran I was, back in 2006, when I just came here. Like I'm evolving, and I still don't feel Dutch. I don't know if you feel German.
No,
Exactly. So
definitely not in Berlin.
yeah, but there is something that happens. Like, I live here 17 years. Like in 2000, 36. Sorry, we are now in 2023. In 2020, no, sorry. Let me rephrase this. When I'll be 46 in 6 years, I have lived here half of my life. Scary how it sounds, but the first half of my life has like a huge weight. But nevertheless, I still need to reshape my personality. It happens. And that album again, this World Citizen, and that feeling of having friends from all over the world. Being here in Europe is like exactly the opposite of being in Israel. In Israel, you are, you are closed. You cannot go anywhere. You can fly, but you cannot drive, and you're not so exposed to the other cultures, actually, who lives around you. So you never really talk with our neighbors because of the conflicts we have, but they're just lovely people, and the
Yeah.
Arabic culture is super rich and beautiful. And anyway, we stole all the slang and the foods and whatever. It's but here, you jump in the car, you drive 3 hours, you're in a different country. You drive another 3 hours, you're in a different country. Different cuisine, different language, different landscape.
Yeah.
So I think being a world citizen is the best thing I could have done in this lifetime. To know a little more about this planet is, I think, such a gift.
Did you went throughout Europe and recorded music with different people there? What was the
Yeah.
process of this album?
Oh, no, the album itself was recorded here in the Netherlands, but in order to realize my immigration story, I had to have indeed an international band of not just people that come from different places, but people that experimented or experienced immigration in their life in order to understand my story. I had to find those people, and I indeed find. I used a good friend of mine in this project. I called actually a friend, a childhood friend, which we went to high school together, and he moved to United States and later to Berlin. And his name is Chagai Cohen Milo. He's a mighty bass player.
Oh, I know him. I
Yeah.
took photos of him.
Yeah.
He's a really cool dude.
Yeah, so he plays on the album, and I used my good friend Xavi Torres, which he is a phenomenal pianist. He comes from Spain, and he lives in the Netherlands, so he experienced this emigration. And with an amazing spirit, amazing friend, really someone I look up to, drummer Ivars Arutyunyan, who comes from Latvia, and he lived in Berlin, but also in Paris, and also in Copenhagen, and maybe in another place that I'm not aware of. So he's also, in a sense, a world citizen. They're all, in a sense, world citizens. So that was the formation I had to outsource for realizing the music that I wrote. And all the songs, although they don't have lyrics, they talk about the feeling of this change of personality, of sense of belonging somewhere. Where do I belong? When I come back to Israel nowadays, in my visits, man, I feel like I'm in the fucking zoo, Like, seriously, I'm standing in line, I'm like, whoa, giraffes, orangutans, it's like, it's surroundings. It's like, we with no disrespect, yeah? I'm part of this zoo, absolutely. I'm the pig. But that's how it feels, and when I'm here, it doesn't feel like I'm home. Mm-mm. It feels I have to create my own home.
How do you create it? Is it something that you feel, or is it a physical place?
So I have an amazing partner in my life, which is local. She's Dutch, but she's very open. Although she didn't live really. I mean, she lived a bit in India. She worked there and in the United States, but she has this spirit that I think we share the same spirit on this. So that's something that really helps me. Like, we live together, but it doesn't feel like that she expects me to become Dutch. So she accepts me the way I am, and my personality is changing as we go. Also hers, I imagine, after being with me for 13 years. And now when we have a family together, my daughter, and hopefully also the younger one, she speaks Hebrew. She's 4.5, but she's fluent in Hebrew because I speak to her only Hebrew. And she's my best friend, as a matter of fact, because she understands me in a way. I mean, that was an important thing for me, that she will know Hebrew, because if not, she wouldn't understand who is this clown here, because I'm different in the landscape. It's but that's also why I think I managed to have a sort of if I may call it success, because I'm different and because I'm also an observer. I could find a way to not impose all of my personality on a situation, because we Israelis, we sometimes often have this Israeli vulgarity, you may say.
The rudeness.
Rudeness, yeah. But I think I'm more gentle than that, although there is a lot of rudeness in me and a lot of, a volcano is there. But I also managed to tame it. And that's, I think, what made me be necessary here, or to bring something that is relevant to the landscape.
Yeah, they need it in Europe, this roughness a little bit. Sometimes.
Maybe they will not admit it, but maybe they do.
Yeah, some friction, man. Friction is good, Friction is really good. We need some friction. Otherwise, we will continue floating somewhere without any purpose.
Yeah. For me, it's a bit like, like this sense of dying for, So like if you take dying for, that two words, like...
Dying for you mean to go all the way in?
Yes, but
Life
also
or
to
death
go...
doesn't matter. It's just like as you go for it.
Yeah, dying for something is also like, for me, it also means like doing something from your heart, completely devoted into it. Not do something like because you're polite, because you occupy that chair now or whatever, but like doing something because you're just engaged. And I think that maybe that's something I for sure I learned that in Israel, to be engaged. Like in Israel, we love a lot, but we also hate a lot, and we hug a lot, and we also punch a lot, So there is this sense of a lot, When you buy there a little, pita, shawarma or whatever, doner,
Good falafel.
a falafel, it's like, man, someone was, if you go to a good place, like it's serving it to you. It's like, there is something going on,
It's a lot.
It's more than there is satisfaction in serving. And here, sometimes I do feel that there is less satisfaction in serving. And I like to serve. I like to cook, but I also like to make the plate. So when you come to my place, I don't just cook and put the pots on the table and tell you, go ahead. No, I will fix you the plate in the most comforting way I could do for myself.
It's
and
the whole
that's,
package.
yeah, it's in a sense, it's the whole package. And I do the same when I teach music, when I try, I do my best. Sometimes I don't succeed, but I do try. It's in my DNA that I have to feel it. And when I feel it, I go 180%, not 100%. No.
Yeah, it's important.
Yeah.
It really relates to what you said in the beginning of this podcast, that you're a samurai. And you said that, and I really relate to that. I remember people sometimes ask me if they can carry my guitar, and say, fuck no, this is my sword.
Exactly.
You don't carry it.
Yeah.
And there is the book, The Way of Samurai. Do you know this book?
I heard of it. I didn't read it.
It's a brilliant book. I
Yeah.
think it was written 600 years ago, something ridiculous like that.
Yeah.
And it's very relevant today.
Absolutely.
It starts with the phrase, the way of samurai is found in death. And it's all about serving the master. And you can think about it, very literal, that you need to serve someone who is basically buying your services in some way. But you can also see the master as the universe, as God, as the higher purpose. Maybe the student that is in front of you, then you need to serve them so they can obtain the knowledge in the most efficient way so it can serve them better.
Maybe also you serve, if I may add to it, I mean, to wisdom of 600 years. Maybe you also serve like the general knowledge of things. So like you serve the planet by creating something autonomous, by creating something real. At least it's real for you, maybe it will be real for someone else. So you are enhancing the landscape and the evolution of this world. So it's not only maybe, or just adding, like not serving only yourself or the master or the student or the audience or whatever, but you're serving the real big picture. And I think my wish is to live forever through whatever I'm going to leave behind. Because in some moment this ride is ending. And then what we did in our lives can echo. And I will feel pretty good when I know that some things that I did echo also after I departed the planet.
That's the ultimate.
Yeah.
I would like to go to this 100 students. It's been on my mind.
Yes.
How much do you want to go into details? How do you organize this? How is it possible to have 100 students in a week?
I work for an institute for one of the biggest schools in Europe. And I teach the first and second years. And in each year you have 30 students, so that's already 60 students. And then I teach a few ensembles, so that's already like 15 to 20 students. And then I have private students. And then I have students which I help in their research. So I'm a research advisor. I do advisory for their research in the master program. I have students from other schools in other countries that take online lessons with me. That's private. And how do I manage? First of all, I'm a workaholic, so I work around the clock. That's how I manage it. Also, I like create content, so I have many lesson plans which I created over the past 14 years, and I keep on updating them.
Is it like a program when someone can sign in somewhere online and they see the structure of what you wanted to teach them?
So it really depends. I mean, like if you go to the conservatory, if you get accepted there, so then you will get the curriculums that I wrote for that platform.
I see.
And if you go on my website, for example, you will see the exercises and routines and lessons and books that I wrote for this platform. So I just do many things in the area of teaching, and that's how I deal with the amount of students. I guess that was the question, right? Like how to deal with so many students. Yeah, it's a bit, some of this teaching is more in a form of lecturing. So the difference between, let's say, one-on-one teaching or even just like a small group, and then when you lecture to maybe 30 students or more, let's say if I do a workshop for a whole school, maybe I'll have there 150 students. So that's you come and you try to tell them a certain story. And of course I don't like to just do monologues, I like to involve and to build upon whatever is happening in the moment. And that's the ability I developed. So back to the jazz, jazz helped me to be able to do this without repeating my repeating the record, having a stock record, for the last 14 or a decade, and to keep on developing as a teacher. I think that's the key. So basically, to always remain a student. That is the key, to keep on learning and in order to inspire others. Maybe you now manage to inspire some people, but wait 10 years. Can you inspire those people now?
Yeah.
If you don't evolve, how can you talk to the young generation?
Exactly.
So that's how I think I manage.
It's interesting. This is the most leveraged thing to do. What you're doing. Did you do it consciously, or did you receive did you receive an advice and you start to do it consciously, or you thought to yourself, it makes sense to me, I will just go to this direction?
I mean, my growing up with music weren't so pleasant many of the times, because as I told you, I joined this high school of arts, like the Royals of of schools back in Israel, the middle 90s. And over there, I got smacked on the head. I was plunged in with some of the most unique minds regarding music in this world. And today I can say it with no doubt. What 22 years ago or 25 years ago looked like very talented youngsters, today we all know that the people that I grew up with musically weren't just very talented, but were the voice of their generation.
Like who? Give me some names.
If you don't know guitarist and composer Gilad Hexelman, you should definitely check him out. I met Gilad when we were 14. We were the students of the same class, and we were actually, in fact, the two guitar players in the year, starting in Kita Tet, at the 9th grade. And Gilad from the beginning was a very autonomous, very secure in himself, with I thought what maybe can be said as a high dose of self-esteem, and also very, very talented on the instrument and very curious to develop and to learn, and definitely not shy. And just by being exposed to this person and others, I learned so much. It shaped my whole being. It completely upped my game. And also, it took me into... So those years were very, very difficult, because I feel like that the tools of the teachers, the tools that the teachers got in those years, they didn't know how to deal with a person like me, because I didn't have much developed talent by that point. And I didn't know anything about jazz. The only thing that I had is I was extremely motivated, but I didn't know how to grow. And I was timid, and I was jealous, and I didn't know what to do. I was completely depressed. I was fat.
Overweight or just chubby?
Chubby.
All right.
And I had to teach myself, first of all, how to overcome my jealousy. And that is one of the most important lessons I ever learned by myself. How to not be jealous, but to be excited about something that is bigger than you, better than you, faster than you, more creative than you, talented than you. And you cannot do anything about it.
Yeah.
And then I had to go through all the rest. And and I happily went through it because I wanted it. So I think that's a little bit how I became a teacher that maybe can help others. I mean, only others will tell. I cannot tell that. But
I guess your students are listening to this podcast.
yeah, so they,
Probably.
you'll
Yeah,
get the letters
write
from
down.
them, you know.
Write down in
Yeah.
the on Spotify if you're listening on Spotify. Then I will publish it so that people can see all the recommendations. Were you also practicing meditation back then when
No.
you started to learn?
No. Very far away from any self-awareness.
But you still, you well, what's the word? You looked all on those people and you saw them, and you decided there is something there that I want to have. So
Yeah.
you stick to those people.
Yeah. Till today, they're my good friends.
This is crazy.
Yes.
This is really beautiful. And you made music together as well?
Absolutely.
Crazy.
Yeah.
What did you make?
You can watch on YouTube, for example. I just mentioned Gilad, which is a big influence on me in so many fields. You can find some movies we made together, like some
Yeah, I would
music.
love if you will send me the links.
Oh.
Then I can put them on Spotify as well so people can have quick access.
Yeah, with pleasure.
They just need to go to the description there.
It's a YouTube thing, so they're like live things, but yeah, you can.
Yeah, send me
yeah,
the
you
links,
can-
so we'll put them on.
yeah. And there is also another person I would love to mention, which is a good friend of mine, a huge inspiration. You know, in many, like I call this guy, like he's the real deal. And his name is Johnathan Volchuk. And Johnathan, he's a musician. He lives in Israel. He had many years in New York. And he's a phenomenal trombone player and a phenomenal jazz spirit. He is jazz. Like,
Definition of jazz in a human.
yeah. He is so much jazz. Yeah. And thanks to him, I play jazz. Absolutely. If not, I would probably be like a kind of prog rock dude. Most likely.
What did he taught you about jazz that opened your eyes? That you think you can never learn
Yeah.
if he would not teach you that?
So Johnathan taught me the most important lesson because Johnathan was a preacher with no words. Johnathan never told me, oh, you have to check this. Oh, you don't do this good. Oh, this is not... Never. Oh, this album is not good. Never. It's only by watching him. We were roommates when we were the 11th and 12th grades. Yeah, so last 2 grades of high school. And the game that we played in our apartment in Givatayim back then, close to school, was we had all the afternoon. So we finished school and then we came home and everyone brought, of course, their CD collection, you know, from home. And our game was like, I'll play an album, you play an album. I play an album, you play an album. And for hours, that's what we would do every afternoon. And just by looking at him, listening to the albums that he loved, just watching his face, when he was not home, I would go and instead of putting my albums, I started to put his collection. And slowly but surely, I got poisoned with the jazz virus. And, you know, that was 22, 3 years ago. And from there, it all started. But the way Johnathan was teaching, and I'm doing this in like brackets, like that was actually an amazing form of teaching. And I'm happy if I can give myself a little credit that I was open enough to accept this teaching, because this teaching is not for everyone. Sometimes, most of the times, people want them to, you take them by the hand and you show them where things are, not just open the door, not just show where the door is. And Johnathan was just looking back, and the door is kind of behind us. That's the only thing I'm going to tell you. You know, you have to do all the work now. That's it.
But you know it's worth it to go to the door and open it. You felt it.
Something drew me into this.
Was it the pleasure that you saw on his face, or maybe the expectation for certain moments in the song?
I guess the pleasure I saw on his face, because he wasn't like hinting me while we were listening. Sometimes you listen with a friend, and then he's like, "Oh, check it out! It's coming now! Oh, did you catch it?" Like this kind of. He never did that. He never like, "Oh man, did you got that phrase? Oh, that was mind blowing." Never that kind of dirty talk. No.
So interesting.
Yeah. Like really an authentic, knowledgeable, wise person.
It reminds me of all those times when I performed and I said, I'm not so good at this song, I might fuck up. And the most ridiculous thing about it that I play to people who will hear the song probably one time in their lifetime. They have no clue if I will fuck it up or not. But just because I said that before that, it's
now they know.
Yeah, now they expect me to fuck up, and they're listening for me to fuck up.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if I just play the song and I let them interpret the song how it's being played at this very moment, I think it's a different experience. They might be even open more than to look up where I'm going to fuck it up. I think this is very similar maybe to what you shared about this friend.
Yeah.
Just this is the song, whatever you see from it, whatever you get from it, it's yours.
Not even this is the song. I just put this and then I'm being. He was being. He was just, he didn't try to please me. He didn't try to teach me something that he knows, I know better. No, nothing of that. And that was the beauty in that.
Yeah.
And that's also why I think it got so deep in me,
It was so silent but powerful.
Yeah, because imagine, you're a kid of the 90s in a way. I was born in the 80s, but I was growing up in the 90s and exposed to music in the 90s. And we're in Israel, hearing taverna music the whole day and MTV influenced and whatever. Jazz is the last station, on the, on the route, on the route. It's very hard for a teenager. I think also today, to get into jazz. Why, like listening to this unproduced, low budgetly captured whatever, music that belongs to another culture. No. It's really a miracle that someone, like, you need to grow up with those parents and to have this teacher when you're young that tells you that's what you need to play or something like this. If not, you're into rock, singer-songwriter, electronic music, EDM, hardcore metal, trance, That's where your friends are. That's what's up. That's the landscape. Or taverna, Mizrahi, music. But jazz, Israel.
It's a weird beast, jazz.
Yeah.
It's like this different social club that not everyone are able to go into this club.
No.
You don't even want to go there sometimes.
No, I had so much resistance in the beginning. I remember starting first grade, 14 years old. I knew how to play two standards and I could stumble upon a standard maybe. And I just didn't get it. We were listening to, but also, I think again, it's the way that it was presented. Because the first jazz history lesson that we got, if I remember correctly, was, by the way, by a brilliant jazz lover and jazz educator, jazz pianist, Amit Golan, rest in peace. And he was so, he was so jazz that he came on the first lesson and he showed us some of his favorite recordings. And the first topic was like the Harlem Renaissance of the 1930s and 40s, beginning 50s, and the pianists that shaped, like that were getting all these boogie woogie together, And I remember I had in my headphones in those times like Dream Theater and, Meshuggah and heavy stuff, and then we were listening to like a kind of a old recording of a piano player playing some stridey things. And I was like, no, this is not for me, And so the first few years in that high school, were hell. But going through this hell, back to the main question about teaching. Going through this hell, finding myself in it, and I keep on looking for my voice in it, helped me to shape and to become the teacher that I am.
I think we can finish with this, the podcast. And that was incredible talk.
It was a pleasure.
Yeah, man. How can people find you? Where can they find you? How can they contact you if they're interested to learn from you?
I'm more than visible online. You just need to Google my name. You'll find all the relevant accounts and email addresses. And I'm also responsive.
Yeah, so do that. It's even easier because it's in the description of the podcast, wherever you're listening to. Just go there. Cool. Thank you, brother, so much.
It's a pleasure.
Eran.